Hey, so I just wanted to share that this video is actually in partnership with Bujin Mom, which is an amazing company that provides resources and items such as these breast pump shield cushions. I'll show a picture right here for moms who are pumping, as well as other resources. They're really sweet. They reached out to me, and I think it's a really great thing to have accessories to help with the pumping process. I was an exclusive pumper, so I had to pump anywhere from 4 to 8 times a day. So those hard plastic flanges sometimes are really uncomfortable. So these are really cool, flexible pieces that you can put inside your existing pump so that to make it more comfortable. And you deserve it, girl. So I'll put the link down below, and you'll use code SAMCANDO on checkout for 15% off your subscription. This is 10 things that I think you should do or should know before you get pregnant. And some things I did know and some things I didn't. But here we go. Number 10, travel. I do not believe that once you have kids, your travel stops. I don't think that that's a way that you can like live and just say, well, I can't travel because I have a kid. But realistically, it might take you a minute to jump back into it. So I actually did a trip down the 101 with some really good friends of mine, and it was so wonderful. We got to see the redwoods, we got to see the beaches, we got to go to the Bethel Church in Redding, where I actually got prayer for getting pregnant. Funny story, got prayer September 9th of 2017, you know, asking for prayer for my infertility. 2018, my due date was September 9th of that year. So that was really cool. But it was so great to take a trip. So I highly encourage you, if you know like, hey, I'm gonna try to get pregnant, why don't you take a really fun trip? Or if travel's not important to you, what's a thing that maybe you would wanna do that would take a little time right after you have a baby? Maybe it's going down the Appalachian Trail or running an Ironman or something, which, you know, you can do those things after. The horse is dead. I'm moving on. Number 9. If you feel worried or scared, which we all do, maybe just read some books, or like read a book, watch a YouTube video about other parents' life. Like check out a new mom on her first week, or, you know, birth stories or things like that. Me, I read the Mama Natural week-to-week guide to pregnancy and natural childbirth, and this was really cool for me because it's like I have a resource that gives me something. Now I know this isn't gonna prepare me, right? A book isn't gonna prepare you. It's not gonna give you everything you need. But for me, it just felt like I had a grid of like, here's someone who did it before me. Here's someone who survived this process and they're okay. So it might be for you watching a YouTube video, following a vlog family, maybe going and watching my birth video that I'll put in a card up here. Number 8, when you are talking about having kids, when you are pregnant, when you have kids, you will receive a lot of advice, and you're getting some advice right now from me. A couple things. Don't just write off the advice and think that you know better, because sometimes you might, but sometimes you might not. Take the advice, listen to it. People have been having babies and raising children for centuries and centuries, and the thing is that throughout history there's always like this wonderful group of women that just come around each other and support each other, and I think that's so special. So listen to the advice, but 2 things is, number 1, it's okay to stick to your guns. You know, someone told me like, hey, you know, screen time is not a big deal for this way, and I don't judge them, like that's their lifestyle, that's their family, but I felt like it was something really that I wanted to hold to. So it's okay to say, thanks for telling me that, you know, it's good to consider, you know, be gracious. But at the end of the day, you can stick to your guns. You don't have to, you know, especially if you're trying something like cloth diapering, or, you know, I'm gonna try to breastfeed for a year. You know, sometimes people might say, okay, well, that's really not realistic. You can gracefully hear that and say, you know what, thank you, but you don't have to take that on. You don't have to be discouraged. You can try it, and then you'll realize at the end of the day what works for you and what doesn't. And sometimes those expectations are ridiculous, but it's still your choice to try them. But the last thing about listening to advice is there's advice that comes from wisdom, and there's advice that comes from trauma and fear. And a lot of times when people want to give you advice, they're actually wanting to fear dump or trauma dump on you. And you know that you're allowed to just tell someone to stop. Like if someone says, oh my God, like I heard you're trying to, you know, I heard you're doing this or and I just want to tell you, you know, and you can tell it's not from a place of I love you and I'm trying to warn you. It's from a place of deep, deep fear, and they're trying to instill fear in you. Fear is not a necessary, I do not believe fear is a necessary emotion. I believe that wisdom is great, that, you know, prudence and thinking through something and being wise and being careful and being cautious is okay. But fear comes from, I think, anxiety and a thing that we don't have to accept. So if someone's saying like, oh my God, don't do a natural birth because I did a natural birth and I almost died and da 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 da, you know, that is a place of fear. It's not saying, hey, I just want to let you know. So if you feel overly fearful when someone's giving you advice, you can tell someone, hey, you're kind of freaking me out. I feel like this isn't healthy for me to listen to. Thank you so much for wanting to share with me. Number 7, be whole. Take care of yourself. Don't expect anything from having a baby or pregnancy to fill any void in you. If you feel discontent, if you feel like, oh, if I can just do this, I'll be better. If I can just do, no, like take care of yourself now. Pregnancy and childbirth and having a child can be very triggering to your own trauma. If you have sexual abuse, if you have physical, emotional abuse, or any trauma, and by the way, you don't have to be, you know, this extreme level of what you consider trauma to have trauma. Trauma can also be what you didn't have. So if you didn't have encouragement, if you didn't have, you know, certain things that you needed as a child, pregnancy, having children, it can all trigger those things. Now, does that mean you shouldn't have kids? Like, no, it just means that, you know, life isn't about avoiding triggers unless they're like overly, like you're not in a place to cope and you don't have resilience to deal with it. But life isn't about avoiding triggers, but doing the best you can to know how to get through them and move through them. And if you have triggers about childbirth, all the things, like you can see a professional, see a counselor, see a therapist. And if you need help finding one, there's a lot of great resources. Comment down below. I'm happy to share some things that are in Houston, Texas, and you know, I'm sure we can find something nationwide. But do that now. Do it before you have a kid, or do it after. I'm gonna do it now. Number 6, check out Facebook group communities. I was not like a big Facebook person, but in the mom Facebook community is a lifesaver. When I had postpartum and when I couldn't breastfeed and I was exclusively pumping, the online Facebook mom community literally like saved my life. Just to be able to get on in the middle of the night and post like, I feel like I can't survive. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. In the middle of having postpartum, I posted some really dramatic things and they just got on and said, you're not alone. It gets better. Like, don't worry. Like, these are some things you can do. They'll give you hundreds of comments of, go you girl, you got this. I believe in you. And something is so special about someone who you know has been with you. And there's like such a cool mom tribe of like when you're struggling, even online, someone just like, you got this. I believe in you. You were made for this. You know, it's so cool. I highly, even you, I mean, there's a Facebook group for everything, like trying to get pregnant Facebook group. I'm keto pregnancy, keto babies, or I had a baby and now I can't breastfeed, or I had a C-section baby and I'm coping with that. Postpartum, every kind of Facebook group you can imagine. Number 5, one thing I wish I knew, or one thing you might know or should think about is sometimes you plan to get pregnant and it doesn't happen. I don't think you should be fearful about it, but have a realistic expectation. Don't, you know, plan to get pregnant and think, be discouraged if it doesn't happen in the first week, it doesn't happen in the first month, it doesn't happen in the first year. You know, there's a lot of different things that go into it, but you know, I think I waited for 3 years, and when it was time to try to get, or 2 years, and then when it was time to try to get pregnant and it didn't happen for me for 3 years, like it was really scary. Because I thought, oh, it's gonna happen. I remember I stopped using contraceptives and I thought I was gonna get pregnant the next month. Didn't think about that, you know, but it's okay because my baby came at the exact perfect time. It was absolutely perfect. Number 4, if you have a person having this baby with you, I mean, it takes 2 to tango, but we all know that not everyone has a spouse or a partner with them when they're coming to have the baby or raise the baby. If you have a partner with you, your spouse, you, and especially like if you're married, you're co-parenting, that relationship comes first. Once the baby comes, once you're pregnant, it comes first. If you are creating a family, if you are mothering and fathering together, that relationship's health, that relationship's strength, and that relationship's security is the best gift that you can give your child. It is the absolutely best thing. So you can't don't neglect or don't throw to the side your spouse for your child, because at the end of the day, that's going to cause division, which brings a lot of insecurity for your kid. And so have that mindset in the beginning, like, how can I love my spouse? How can I strengthen our relationship? And that leads me to number 3, which is do not think or have a kid. Do not think about having a kid, or do not have a kid for the purpose, you know, and if it already happens, it's okay, just change your mindset, but kids do not help broken relationships. Let me say it again. A kid does not fix a broken relationship. A child does not fix a broken relationship. Can you have a broken relationship and have a kid and have a healthy, you know, work towards a healthy, you know, relationship? I said that how many times? Yes, you can, but the kid is not the fixer. That is not their job. No baby should have the responsibility of being the glue between two people. Babies are not good at helping marriages. If anything, the little monsters will tear you apart. But you know who is really good at helping marriages? Licensed professional counselors. Your relationship is your responsibility. You know, of course you might say, well, my spouse is terrible, da, da, da. Obviously if your spouse is abusive, emotionally, physically abusive, that's one thing, but you have a responsibility, you know, you have half of it, and do what you can, you know, suggest counseling, go to your own counseling if your husband or boyfriend or whoever doesn't want to go to counseling with you. At least be whole on yourself to be able to cope with the issues in your relationship. But children will not fix it. They will not, you know, having a baby will not magically make you perfect in your partner's eyes to think that, like, wow, all the things I was mad about before are now done and over with. No, it just doesn't work like that. But there's so many great resources for couples. Like, I so believe in healthy relationships, and me and my husband, where our personality types are so opposite that when we took tests in premarital counseling, it said that we were like highly toxic. But we have such a great relationship. I'm so grateful. If you ever want me to do like a 10 things about marriage video, I would love to do that. But that's really important. Number 2, something I wish I knew, and something that you might know, or not know, or need to know before you get pregnant or have a baby. Like, those are 2 separate things. Is that having a kid is hard. Everyone always asks, like, is it hard? Like, how hard is it? How hard was it now that it's not just you and your spouse? And I just want to tell you, it is very hard. But you know what else is hard? Everything else valuable that I've ever done in my entire life. School, graduating, getting married, fighting for my relationship, fighting, you know, for my job, or, you know, everything that is worthwhile in life is hard. Not that you don't count the cost. You count the cost, you realize how hard it's going to be, and you decide to take it on through all the hardship. Even when I was in the mental hospital, I was institutionalized for postpartum. Even then, like, it is so worth it. I love and adore my baby so much, and I love seeing Hayden as a father. I love holding her, and I love seeing her, and sometimes I feel completely hopeless and alone about things like paying for childcare, or, you know, but just looking at her little face and seeing the world through her eyes. And not only that, I look at my baby and how much I love her, even though she provides zero benefit to me. She doesn't do dishes, she doesn't pay bills, she brings no, you know, nothing to society other than her presence. I just think about how much God loves me, how much I am adored for absolutely no reason other than the fact that I bear a mark of who made me, and how much my parents love me, and I'm just so proud. Yes, having a kid is hard, but the best things in life are difficult. Running a marathon is difficult, but it is so worth it. So, you know, it's important to know that it's not a walk in the park, but it's really, really awesome. And I love it. And even if you are adopting, if that's the route you're going, you're fostering, there's so much difficulty in especially those, but there's so much beauty. There's so much life, and I just love it. The last thing, number 1 on my list, is forget everything that I'm telling you, because every single kid, pregnancy, birth, having it, it's all different for all of you. So there's no list that can prepare you. Sorry, sorry, spoiler, like my whole list is not really the answer to anything. Like, you can prepare, you can try, but nothing's gonna prepare you like this little person will prepare you. But something I wanna say for the mamas out there, even if you can't physically reproduce because of a medical issue, you're still, I just wanna say that you were created, you know, especially if you have that, like, you were made to take care of this little person. Like, you have everything that you need to take care of this little person. And you know what, you are gonna need help. You are going to need your community, and that's okay too, but you are going to be okay. Like, if you're planning on having a kid or you're pregnant right now, I just want to say that you're gonna be okay, and you're gonna mess up, but your job isn't to be a perfect mom. Your job isn't going to be a perfect parent. Your job is to just shepherd your child and be real with them, to prepare them for the world. And part of that is preparing them to forgive. Our children will have to forgive us for not being perfect, but at least we can prepare them by being a parent who's willing to apologize when they make a mistake, by being willing to forgive ourselves so that we're not feeling guilty and then we over try to fix our kids, and then when our kids mess up, then we think it's a reflection on us because of guilt and shame. Just let that go and just be about love, and love casts out all fear. So I hope that I could relieve you of some anxiety, or just give you some things to think about if you're considering to have a child. So I hope you'll have an amazing week. Thanks for watching. Bye.